Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Action Comics issue 1065 by Joshua Williamson, Rafa Sandoval, Miguel Mendonca and Mirko Colu. The House of Brainiac continues this week as Superman and Lobo battle their way across the galaxy towards Brainiac. Their battle with the Czarnian forces, however, isn't really the focus of this issue. It's Supergirl and Superboy, who at the end of Superman issue 13 managed to get out of their containment fields, but didn't return to normal size or power, so the two heroes have to traverse the ship as action figure sized beings. This is some really fun stuff, and I like that it feels like a subplot of like an action adventure movie from like the 80s or 90s, something you'd see like two side characters getting up to while the big main plot happens around them. The heroes sneak through the ship and decide that they're going to need some help, and they'll get it from Livewire and Parasite. Williamson builds on the stories he's been telling with these two former villains and how they've been rehabbed a little into people who want to actually help out, and Kara takes advantage of the fact that Brainiac won't suspect that they would actually want to work together. Kara frees them and the group head to the ship's armory and outfit themselves with all sorts of alien weaponry that Brainiac has collected over the years, including one weapon that resizes Supergirl and Superboy to normal size, evening the playing field. This kind of disappointed me a little bit, since I thought they might have stayed small for a little bit longer and we could have had some proper fun with the concept, like the heroes having to explore the ship's ventilation shafts. You know, they got to sneak through to get to a certain area and they have to dodge things like the Doomsday Dogs, which we briefly see early on in this issue, as well as other hidden things that Brainiac has all throughout his ship. Would have been really fun, but I guess we're not going to be doing that. Or I guess maybe they'll do that with some other characters, because there is still characters who are shrunk down and they could always get loose as well, and we could follow on with their stories somewhere else. While the group take out a few Brainiacs, the Prime One manages to stop Supergirl, and Williamson uses this as an opportunity to show us some of Brainiac's plan. Supergirl not only learns that Lex is working with Brainiac and working with him kind of under duress, seeing that Lex just knows this is like the path of least resistance and knows what's coming. Again, we get more allusions to something is coming, something that he has been trying to prepare Superman for, and we don't know what that is. And again, Williamson does a really great job of just teasing this out, and I just want to know what it is and what is at the end of this story that Brainiac and Lex are so scared of. Lex and Brainiac's work together sees them resize one of the bottled cities, but it's not just any bottled city, it's Colu. Again, Williamson makes a reference to No Justice, the series which saw Colu and its people be destroyed by the Omega Titans, and how before it was Brainiac bottled one of the cities, because of course he did, since he can't help himself but collect. The connective tissue Williamson has been giving in all of these issues to years old stories, as well as stories which are going on right now like Absolute Power, is just so damn cool, and making it in like a way that's like understandable, and a way that you don't actually have to understand what was happening in those older stories like No Justice. He gives you just enough to work with, like, okay, Omega Titans destroyed Colu. You want to read it? You can read it back in No Justice. Oh, Lex and Brainiac were working on the Legion of Doom together. Oh, that was in Scott Snyder's Justice League. If you want to read that, you can, but you don't have to. And I think that's really important, because this series is definitely new reader friendly and can bring people on, so you don't alienate those new readers by just having all these big ties back to other comics that you then have to go back and read, or have to read before you start this event. You can just get by on what is in the page, which is really important. Brainiac also alludes again to the Brainiac Queen, hinting that he has brought the city back for the upcoming Queen. I also want to mention how he and Rafa and Miguel Mendonca brought the city back to life. It wasn't placed on some planet or out on like an asteroid or in space. He placed it on the skull of his skull ship, and it looks like a crown, which is a really cool design for the ship, and it's like the city is some sort of regal piece of jewelry to be worn and shown off as like this crowning achievement, pun intended. Superman and Lobo, meanwhile, head to Hardcore Station, and oh my god, again, Williamson with these deep cut pulls, bringing back the station that Jim Starlin created for a series of the same name in the early and late 90s. The station itself is basically one big Star Wars cantina, and the type of place Lobo would usually hang out in. Lobo reveals that they are there to see space cabbies, since he might know where Brainiac is. The man doesn't, only knowing that Czarnians are being used to invade planets that have powered people, and Earth was not the first to be targeted, with Brawl and Titan targeted first, and we actually saw Brawl be targeted in the build up to this event in the back pages of Superman and Action Comics. General Colu eventually turns up on the station to deal with Superman and Lobo, and in a bit of a bold twist, Colu wants to make a deal with Lobo, citing that he's getting old and needs a successor, and he wants Lobo to be that successor. However, to prove that he means business, he has to take out Superman, which Lobo is more than happy to do. The Czarnians being involved in the story is what really excites me about this. Is a really interesting piece of this puzzle, as it's been stated time and time again throughout this story that they are very unpredictable, and Brainiac using them and using something so unpredictable and something he cannot control or quantify is really surprising. So much so that it throws the heroes off balance to his plans. Like, if he's using these, how desperate is he? There is a bit of a trade-off though, because it also puts Brainiac's plans in jeopardy themselves, since the Czarnians are doing stuff like this behind Brainiac's back, and obviously I don't think Lobo is going to go against Superman for too long, or at least he's probably thinking of it as a way to sort of getting close to the Czarnians and maybe infiltrate them a little bit more. But I can see this part of the story being used as a kind of an excuse to get more Superman versus Lobo, since we didn't really get that at the start of the story. We kind of got a little bit of it, and I'm guessing this is like the main event, quote unquote. And it's going to be a lot of fun, especially because Williamson also built in that caveat that Superman was not playing around in that first fight, which is why he ended it so quickly. So I have to imagine that will continue into this next fight, because Superman doesn't have any time for the usual games they play and will fight with his full power against Lobo, since time is running out for him and his family. The story does not end there, as Williamson also treats us to a story involving Vril Dox, Brainiac 2, who has gone on the run as his absentee father has come looking for him, sending Czarnians out to detain Brainiac 2. This is also, I believe, the first mention of the Legion within the new continuity, being that Brainiac 2 was part of Legion, not the Legion of Superheroes, the team called Legion, and I believe this is the first time in the Dawn of DC era that they have been mentioned, which is pretty damn cool. Brainiac 2 is eventually brought before his father and learns that something is wrong with him. He searches for some piece of hidden knowledge that he has not had or has eluded him over the course of his life, and he is close to finding it, but his body is not cooperating with him. Brainiac 2 of course knows the missing part he is after is family and love, and being cared for and caring for someone. Knowing Brainiac is just not capable of any of that sort of stuff, no matter how many children he creates or how many cities he bottles. In a neat little twist, Brainiac almost proves he actually does care, as he doesn't kill Brainiac 2 like the man thinks he will. Instead, he has him imprisoned on the recently returned Colu with more of his family like Indigo and Brainiac 3, who Brainiac has also collected and imprisoned. The most surprising thing though is that we get to see Brainiac 2's mother. A character I don't believe we have seen before. It's always been led to believe that Brainiac just kind of cloned Brainiac 2 from his own DNA, and it gets mentioned here as well, but apparently he had a mother as well, and that's really intriguing and further complicates the story of Brainiac wanting a family and wanting something that his arch nemesis and even other villains like Lex have got now, and he wants that, but he can't just have it for some reason, and he's really frustrated that he just can't make a family and have a family like these other people are having. It's really intriguing and adds an extra layer of characterization to Brainiac, one we've never really explored before, yet it's all been there from the beginning, since he's just been making clones of himself throughout his entire history. Brainiac 2, Indigo, Brainiac 5, Brainiac 3, all of these people are technically his family, but they're not really his family, and that's intriguing that we're getting a story that's exploring that here. Artist Mirko Colu draws the story, and this is my first time seeing this artist's work, and I absolutely love it. I love the use of shadows and how it's being used to inform on the relationship between Brainiac and Brainiac 2 and Brainiac's extended family as well, keeping each in shadow to show just how distant and hidden they are from each other, and while they are related, they don't know a thing about each other, and it's just a black void more or less. That's how they see each other, just as nothing. It's just a fantastic visual choice, and I would absolutely love to see more of Mirko's work, be it in another story involving Brainiac 3 or just elsewhere in the DC universe. They have a great eye for detail and visuals. House of Brainiac continues to chug along very nicely with a new installment in Action Comics, keeping the themes of family and the yearning for family right at the forefront of the story, as Brainiac's plans to build his own perfect family and life continue with disastrous consequences for Superman and his own friends and family. I am going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10.